the webinar today. We're going to be discussing cloud adoption trends. My name is John Rymer. I'm an analyst at Forrester, and my area of research is into application development. Application developers have really fueled so much of the adoption of clouds, and we view them as a really a leading indicator for the future of this market. So hopefully that perspective is going to be helpful here. I'm going to walk you through some of the research that we've been seeing and some of the conclusions we've been reaching about cloud. The bottom line here, though, guys. Let's see if my slides do come up. Great. So the bottom line here, guys, is that cloud is the next platform. We don't get a lot of questions from clients anymore about whether or not they're going to go to public clouds. It's really, how do we get there? I just got off a call before this webinar with a client where they're trying to plot how they get there, how they can actually take greater advantage than they already are of public clouds to fuel their businesses. So it's a very exciting time because it leads to a lot of changes and a lot of opportunity for us to create tons of value with technology. So brief agenda here is I'm going to talk about how cloud has really become established in the enterprise. It was established for certain workloads, and it's now expanding across the board to a variety of workloads. And then I'm going to take you on a little bit of a journey. We've done a lot of research and thinking about the way that an adoption of cloud begins to change everything we do in application development and delivery. And we've got some advice about how to proceed. All right, well, let's take a look at some data first. This is some data that we put together. We put together data in a forecast to just basically size the public cloud market and to project ahead to its growth. And we've called this picture hypergrowth. Hypergrowth is growth rates in excess of 50%. In the case of SaaS, it's over 100%. The public cloud market's growing very, very quickly, led by SaaS, led by the applications. But you can see in the forecast here that cloud platforms, which would include a variety of products, including infrastructure services, as well as platform services, application platform services. The platform growth is following SaaS growth. It's picking up pace. It's picking up steam and growing, again, in hypergrowth, but it's going to grow a lot faster than SaaS going forward. And then cloud business services includes things like file sharing and integration, specialized services that, again, you can see pick up steam to support the ongoing adoption of SaaS and cloud. So a lot of people voting. What it comes down to, a lot of enterprises are voting with their budgets, and they're adopting cloud across the board. Even in spite of that high growth and that enormous market, there's still a tremendous amount of upside here. When we survey developers, which we do on an annual basis, and we ask them what kinds of applications they develop and what sort of platforms they use, one of the questions we ask them is about, are you using a cloud computing environment? You can see in this last survey, only 25%. 25% is a good number, but there's 75% of developers who are still going to go here. The upside here, it's already an enormous market. The upside is tremendous. This is what's we expect is going to fuel this tremendous growth. And we find that developers are doing lots of different kinds of applications in the cloud, but you can see that really the major action and what's really fueled adoption here is what is generally called systems of engagement, starting with mobile sites and applications. Mobile apps are just depend so heavily on cloud backends, simply because the volumes of users are so great. but also, as we'll see, because the kinds of processing that we're doing is evolved, towards towards clouds, cloud platforms, because of there's so much scale and so much elasticity. It's very favorable for doing mobile apps. You can see application integration here. Again, as people adopt more and more SaaS offerings, for example, and platforms, they tend to want to integrate those properties. Tremendous amount of activity in application integration. And on, you can see e-commerce comes up on the list, internal web business applications. These are a general category, but generally what people are doing is building the applications that their employees, their customers, their business partners use to engage, to do business, and to get work done. So with that in mind, let's take a step back. Systems of engagement, cloud. These are sort of obvious to me that they're part of what's going on here. But there's a even bigger picture here, which is we are in an era when every organization on the planet is trying to use technology to improve its customer understanding, its responsiveness. We call it win, serve, and retain customers. This is a strategic priority for everybody, whether you're in a commercial entity or not. And there's a funny thing about using technology to win, serve, and retain customers. You have to produce those applications far more quickly, and you have to change them far more quickly than we've ever done before. And so this emphasis on responsiveness, speed of delivery, and ongoing change, again, has really pushed a lot of people into the cloud, and the cloud becomes key to a whole new approach, a whole new way of thinking about technology and about how we deliver software. This is the bigger picture that I hope to convey to you today. So in that context, serving customers, we see 5 major adoption paths among our clients who are adopting cloud. You see them here. Dev and test, just a ton of activity doing development and test. Maybe bring that software back in house and deploy it in a private data center, but increasingly deploy it in a public cloud. Systems of engagement we've talked about. I would highlight, some of the examples out there. Some of you, we probably have a crowd from around the world. Some of you were interested in the World Cup. Coca-Cola, as an example, ran an enormous promotion called the Friendliness Flag, where they collected photos from all over the world. Massive, massive, massive project. And it involves massive amounts of storage. It involves points of engagement all over the world, from mobile devices and so on and so forth. All of this was done in the cloud. Under Armour, I'll talk about later. That's a very interesting, I think, new kind of scenario. Sales and support management. All those Salesforce customers out there are using a cloud-based environment to do their sales and support management. Walgreens is notable for having put in place a system of a sales and support mobile app that very quickly grew to like 250 million users. I mean, it's just amazing growth. In the B2B arena, so these are not consumer examples, we see Boeing and General Electric, GE, and Hilti, sort of industrial companies that are using clouds to engage with their supply chain, essentially, as well as their customers, to produce better products, to approach maintenance and so forth. And then lastly, there's some interesting new scenarios. Again, we'll get into some of these in a minute, where you see established firms like Home Depot and Lowe's, for example, using cloud environments to expand into new forms of commerce, like, for example, helping you arrange for a contractor to install that new sliding glass door you just bought in the retail setting. So those are the major. I'll just build this out. Those are the major scenarios. But there's the major entry points. But there's a lot more here that people do. Cloud sort of, as I said, keys a lot of new thinking about how to use technology because we've got so much capacity immediately and readily available, on an on-demand basis. So a couple, these all tend to be mobile. A couple of examples here. One is actually from Walgreens again. It's a view of their app, the part of their app that does prescription filling. Uh, so you can fill a prescription, which is a huge part of their revenue, by the way, um, in about a second using this app on the phone. They're using the camera on the app. That they used to be that most people would do this through the phone, and it took maybe about 3 minutes. They've got it down to uh, actually it's under a minute. It's several seconds. I think it's 17 seconds if I recall. Um, so it's a dramatically faster, more convenient experience that they were able to deliver, even though they had been doing pretty well with other technologies. The second one is a cap that helps with this problem of patients not taking their meds. This is a huge problem in the economy where people don't take their meds and they end up back in the hospital, and it's costly, and they're actually not getting well and not maintaining their health. So in this case, you've got a device that's working with an app on a phone with a cloud back end to remind the patient to take their meds when it's time to take their meds, and of course to track how they're doing, and they can choose to share that information with their care provider to maintain their program better. And then the last one is fitness. There's just a huge amount of activity in fitness, which falls over into health, that involves devices capturing individuals' stats, but also connecting in with communities and providing a whole new experience that was not possible without cloud. One of the these are sort of ideas. I'm sure you've seen great ideas too. Well, and again, I got a few more coming up. One of the interesting things to us about cloud and about the development approach that is supported by cloud is that these development approaches allow for very quick testing of ideas. You don't have to go and order up a bunch of kit and a bunch of middleware and database software and so forth and hope that that will maybe be installed in your data center so you can get to work on this idea within 6 months, and then maybe you start to work on the software, and maybe in a year or so you deliver on the first version of that idea, and guess what, in that year the world has changed and your idea is wrong. So one of the things that's really interesting things that's going on is people are using cloud-based environments to test ideas within days. Now, they'll test a minimum viable version of that idea, but they can very quickly find out whether they're on the right track, and they're doing so by actually producing software that folks can see, including their customers, not just the business sponsors, but some people do this where they show the minimum viable product to their customers and gather feedback on that software right away. This is dramatic. I mean, this just changes our ability to respond to business opportunities, to threats, completely changes it, and it's all due to this new approach. Now, next slide makes the point that public clouds are really the adoption is very, very strong in public clouds, but it doesn't mean that on-premise investments are going away. And as this chart shows, a lot of folks are using software as a service, just as one of the major categories here, not as a replacement, but as an extension. This is really important because it means that they're adopting new functions or new automation in many cases that complements what they already have. So they don't have to do a big rip and replace and take on a lot of risk and cost to take advantage of cloud. They can rather adopt new features or like I say, automate a new area and use it in conjunction with what they already have. And gradually, we do see an appetite for replacement, particularly of legacy. But that takes time. So it takes time to plot that all out. So as you say, the speed of adoption of something like SaaS drives the ability to speed and to adopt it, drives the initial adoption. But then hybrid, the hybrid of cloud and on-premise really produces, really ends up producing the results. So what this trend means is that integration really becomes a really crucial, in fact, the key skill for technology management groups to have, and the key area for them to integrate. In the future, in the very near future, you're going to find people using, we find clients using 10 or 20 different SaaS offerings integrated with some number of their existing on-premise applications, sometimes with partners uh, through APIs, and this is all a big integration challenge. So it also means that because integrate one way to ease integration is to center on a particular set of public cloud providers and to engage with their ecosystems, because those folks, if they're all running in the same environment, for example, it can ease some of the integration challenges. But it's really an important message for the skills that we need to be developing. Okay, that 25% of developers that I talked about that's really so far been driving cloud, those are the folks that have really made public clouds, the big thing that they are today, the big factor they are today. And these folks are now moving into what we call a rationalization phase. They've done their exploration, they've proved out the value. They're now looking to rationalize and expand the benefits that they get from public cloud. This is a phasing that we see. So when they get into this rationalization phase, they start to really push the envelope. They start to really do some very different things. First, we find that a lot of folks, when they get into this rationalization phase, they start to recognize that they've got different types of developers in their, particularly if they're a large enterprise, and that their cloud platforms really need to be tuned to those developers. So here's the three types of developers we found in our work. Um, they range from folks that are very, very technical and want to get under the hood and do configuration of the infrastructure. The DevOps Pro is what we call those folks, up to folks that basically don't want to code. They want to use visual development. There are offerings for all of these folks out there, but strategies need to tilt to be able to address all of these different needs. Also, we're finding that even though folks usually start with systems of engagement, they very quickly move on into analytics, number one, and then lastly, we're starting to see some enterprise business processes starting to move into public clouds as well. This is what I say, where we see a lot of expansion. It's very exciting because these are, in many cases, particularly with the analytics, these are apps that are really groundbreaking. So let's look at a couple of examples. These are some examples that employ analytics and integration of real-time information very, very in a very, very advanced way. So Carl's Flavor Print is an application that allows you to plug in ingredients and explore what sort of flavors you like, and then it takes you into recipes, so you can start to really explore cooking and food in a very new way. The other two here rely very heavily on notifications, and they're using information they gather about the context of the person, the customer, to drive those notifications. The one on the bottom I'm hoping to use someday, which is available in some of the Major League Baseball ballparks. But there's more. I'll build this out. This is a story about Starbucks, which was finding that its food results, its add-on sales in the morning, in the morning time frame, were getting to be kind of anemic. And so they started to look into what might be going on here. They looked at a number of factors, what they were selling and so forth. but they eventually they engaged with a data provider that was gathering data about people in in certain cities about what their activities were at different times of the day. And through this data provider, Starbucks was able to identify that people were going into Starbucks to get their coffee, and they're going down the road to McDonald's to get their breakfast. There was a problem with their menu. They didn't offer enough breakfast choices. And so now you see lots of breakfast choices in Starbucks. The point here is that that data provider is just one of hundreds that now are available that are using cloud to deliver just insights that we've never had before that help us with our customers. And then the last one here is for the runners in the group. This is an example where runner can go out in the morning, in this case, and create a very personalized experience that ties together their own personal fitness goals all right into commerce. So this is an example where an individual runner goes out and is using Map My Run. You can connect to friends who oftentimes may be running at the same time, and you can have a little contest to see who can. Gee, maybe I can meet your pace, and we'll have a little contest here and do our workout together and have a little fun. And then at the end, there's a tie into contest into commerce in that a vendor, in this case Under Armour, notifies me, hey, you got 400 miles on those shoes. So it's really time for you to order a new pair. You want to do that right now, and we'll ship it to you. So it ties together a very contextualized, individualized experience that involves my personal goals, my friends, and ultimately products that I need. Very, very different kinds of applications, as I said, that are being stimulated here. So to wrap up, everything's changing in application delivery, and there's a number of changes that we need to make to really capitalize on this. So first of all, change your app strategy means focus on what really differentiates you. That Map My Run Under Armour example, that really is a differentiating experience for those companies. The back office, accounting and all that, try to drive as much cost out of that as possible so that you can shift your investment to what's really new and what's really differentiating. Change your sourcing. We find again that most companies are engaging with public clouds. That means you're going to engage with the ecosystem that's provided by the cloud providers that you choose. You're going to get you should be getting an availability of different SaaS products, of integration features, of features for building custom applications, of data integration and data sharing. I mean, there's a whole series of advantages that go into tilting your sourcing to a particular cloud ecosystem. Change your organization structures. The whole theme here is to be responsive, and so app dev organization structures have to be much more closely connected to the business than they ever have been before, even to the customer. Again, some app dev groups are actually putting their initial efforts out there and letting customers test them to get feedback before they proceed on. So the org structures, this is one that we call a shared platform app dev. The shared platform may be a cloud, and that it frees the app dev teams then to just focus on the application function and get out of the business of platform, middleware configuration, all that jazz. It's low value work. It's important, but it's low value work. Let them focus on the function. And again, the function that really differentiates is what we want to do. Change your accounting. Cloud is on demand. It is pay as you go. Our financial management is not. Our financial management is typically based on a budget and an allocation, and in most cases, those allocations are complete fiction. They don't represent real utilization. They don't represent real value. What we want to do is put together a virtuous circle where the business needs and the funding flow into services design and app development and integration. Those products, those applications are based on a pay for what you use approach. and then they justify then further funding. So really switch to a much more natural funding and measurement of value kind of perspective. And then lastly, change the solutions. I've talked through some of the ideas, some of the newer ideas that we've seen where mobile and cloud are really driving some very, very innovative, custom, personalized experiences for customers. And we've just scratched the surface on that. So with that, I'll thank you for your time and turn it over to Amit.
Thanks, John. My name is Amit Khanna. I head the cloud computing services for Virtusa. What I'm going to share with you in today's presentation is some of the experiences, best practices, lessons learned in helping some of our clients through this cloud journey. So John talked about a number of things, talked about different adoption paths. One of the things which was very striking was that cloud has enabled the cost of failure to be so low, new ideas can be tried out. In his presentation, he also called out 3 distinct phases in which enterprises are today in terms of their cloud journey. Some enterprises are really exploring, some are in the rationalization phase, and some are in the optimization phase. With respect to each of these different phases, we have come across different best practices, lessons learned, and I'll be sharing those with you in today's presentation. So the first one is to establish quantifiable goals and objectives. Very often when we start having these conversations, we find that the primary driver is cost, saving cost, which is always a good driver to have. But what it does, putting too much emphasis on just the cost takes away a lot that cloud has to offer. It is not unheard of to reduce time to market by over 50%. We see that in fact quite often. Cloud has the capability to give you faster time to market. Out of the box, you can get scalability. Amazon Web Services, EC2 instances give you 99.95 scalability, just deploying them in multiple AZs. So these are very tangible benefits that you can derive, and it is when you are establishing your goals and objectives, it is important to have a mix of both improving business capability and reducing cost. And we do see if these goals are established early on, they derive the solution, the architectures, the approach, the application selection process, and set the stage for a successful cloud journey. The second best practice we highly recommend is to establish and understand your existing organizational constraints. Cloud has a lot of exciting things to offer, and it is very easy to get very excited about all the new cloud services that are out there and lose sight of what your starting point is. And in established constraints generally have a negative connotation, but I feel this is not really about identifying what you are missing. Is identifying what you need to achieve with your new cloud platform. And these constraints um, have been there, and they have evolved with the organization, and they serve a purpose. So it's important to look at what financial constraints are there. These could be existing contracts, your current cost models that need to be taken into account. Regulatory constraints are extremely important. You may require your cloud platform provider to sign up business associate agreement. It's important to document all these regulatory constraints and ensure that when you are looking at different cloud platforms, those cloud platforms meet those constraints. Organizational constraints, again, this is can be a big uh, 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 obstacle if not factored in early into the cycle. Your teams may have different skill sets, competencies, and you may have different vendors. You want to ensure that your choice of cloud platforms and your cloud architectures take into account your existing organizational constraints. Service level constraints are something that would drive your architectures, will drive how you provision these services, and have to be factored in and documented early on. A lot of technology stacks that you support today will need to be supported. You will re-platform some of the applications as you move to cloud, but you will migrate a lot of these applications as well. So you need to ensure that all the technical constraints that are there today you have factored in, and this is an area where a lot of automation can help, and there are some very clear things that are well known, such as cloud platforms not supporting multicast, storage area networks not supported, and so these factors are extremely important, and they can be make or break as far as some of your applications go, and again, important for you to document these technical constraints. And the final set of constraints is around DevOps. John talked about a little bit about these DevOps. This is a huge area of improvement, so it's important to understand how your current governance is modeled, what your current DevOps looks like, and this will set you up for figuring out what this new stage in the cloud computing world, what these will look like. The third best practices I would like to share with you is around choosing the platform. Cloud is not a single technology. It is a very complex amalgamation of many different technologies, and you may have heard many different facets. What we've tried to do is distill them down into three clear buckets. So really not from a value delivered, but bottom of this internal inverted triangle is infrastructure as a service, followed by platform as a service and software as a service. As you can see in this visual, what you get from out of the platform increases as you go up this inverted triangle. So really with infrastructure as a service, you get compute, network, cloud, services, and when you go to a platform as a service provider, you get not only compute, network, and some of these services, but you also get an architecture, you get a design, and you get a lot of frameworks, such as it could be a UI framework, data access framework, and so on. And really at the top is software as a service, where you completely outsource your business process to a software. Now, there are a lot of factors that go into deciding which is the right facet, and traditionally we've seen the right answer most of the time is there is all of them above. Different applications lend themselves to different facets of cloud. A general rule of thumb which I have seen come true most of the time is if there are applications which are your competitive advantage, you need a platform which will give you building blocks which are very fine-grained and will let you do whatever you need to do to build this distinct competitive advantage. And infrastructure as a service providers typically provide you with these low building blocks, a lot of these services, and you can mix and match and combine them in any format. As you go up this inverted triangle, the number of constraints in terms of technical and otherwise continue to increase. So your ability to differentiate will goes down. So this is a very high level thumb rule, but again, there are always exceptions to the case. The the next best practice that I want to share with you is, it is very easy and it happens quite often to get very enamored by the technology capability of the platform and lose sight of the business focus. And yes, these cloud platforms are very sophisticated and they can do a lot, but at the end of the day, they need to serve a business purpose. And this is what you see on the screen here is a technique that we use. It's been around for very long. On the y-axis, you see what is the business value, and these are all parameterized. And on the x-axis, we have the technical efficiency. By plotting these applications across these two dimensions, you get 4 quadrants and a very high level guidance on what the applications in these 4 quadrants are and what their cloud journey will look like. Again, this is not prescriptive, but this is a general guidance. And we've seen this methodology help a lot in defining the application portfolio assessment. It helps in coming up with which applications will go first and where which facet of cloud will they go. Healthy zone applications are applications in zone 4, which are great candidates to move to possibly an infrastructure as a service provider. And zone 2 are applications which are high business value but low technical efficiency, and they are great candidates to be re-platformed. And zone 3 is applications that need to be evaluated, and zone 1 is applications that would possibly need to be consolidated or retired. The next lesson learned is, I'm not going to call it a best practice because this is more of a lesson learned. In a lot of engagements that we have been involved with, we see a tendency to de-risk the whole engagement. And by choosing a lot of peripheral applications, and what that does is, yes, it may result in the program being a success, but it's not a true demonstration of the business value delivered by the cloud, and also it's not a true measure of the complexities and obstacles that you may face when you start with the larger rationalization and embrace phase of your project. So a recommendation that we have seen is, it is important to have low-hanging fruit in the mix, but you want to front load some of your complex applications, some of the complex problems that you are aware of as a part of your initial set of applications. The next best practice I want to share is around interdependency in application, and this we see something that has been very is something that is quite often overlooked. Yes, an application, after you've done all your analysis, you may find it's a great fit to move to the cloud, and it has all the attributes, and it the business value it delivers justifies that it be moved to the cloud. But if you do not factor the endpoints it consumes, and if you do not factor the endpoints it exposes to other applications, then you may end up in expending a lot of effort in endpoint remediation. What you see here on the screen is a visual, and which is a technique. This has been widely used in a lot of application areas developed by MIT, called dependency structure matrix. And it, instead of trying to represent applications dependencies as arrows or connectors going into one another, it uses a matrix to represent these applications and their dependencies. And what is possible using this technique is to reorder the matrix and identify application clusters. And what, for very large scale enterprise migrations, This helps you identify which applications form a cluster based on their dependency and can become a logical unit for moving to the cloud, or can dictate an order of moving to the cloud. I did see somebody point out vendor lock-in, calling out this is a big and important thing. Yes, and I want to call it out. Vendor lock-in is something you need to be aware of, and but it's not always a bad thing. And the overarching guidance and what we've learned is that one has to be pragmatic about vendor lock-in. The pros of making sure your solutions are not leveraging any cloud platforms are that it gives you portability, and we've seen some of our clients not even using the elastic load balancer um, because they're so particular about portability, and it does protect you from platform cost increases. But if you look at the trend that has been going on, most cloud platforms, leading cloud platform vendors, have announced price cuts, sometimes in the excess of 30 price cuts a year. So yes, it is important to keep an eye on that. And the downside of trying to be absolutely agnostic is that it does require additional effort. It is more expensive to build, and I think the most detrimental aspect of trying to be a pure agnostic as far as cloud platform goes is that you will not be able to leverage some of the fantastic services that cloud platforms have to offer. So the guidance, what we've learned is that we need to be pragmatic about vendor lock-in. The this isn't so. John talked a lot about DevOps, and as developers, we have been um, uh, very much leveraging continuous integration, and we've seen how in an environment where you can continuously build and integrate can lead to productivity. Cloud computing takes it to the next level by continuous delivery. You have now binary repositories, and you can provision um, instances on demand. And so in some cases, we've seen this continuous delivery taken to a whole new level. Uh, Probably some of you have heard of uh, the Phoenix server methodology, where you build these servers and from scratch and install, deploy software and anything that is required to uh, to run and operate from scratch. And we've seen these Phoenix server methodology being used practically every day. A good case, an example would be a data warehouse. Imagine you have a huge data warehouse and you practically don't need the data warehouse to be up and running for the evening hours. And this is not a hypothetical case study. This is something that we've done, and saved significant dollars for the enterprise, because these are large instances and large machines. And but the big takeaway is continuous delivery is a huge area for and sometimes overlooked. And cloud computing, by its very nature of being on demand, can provide a lot of benefits if we have focus on continuous delivery at the outset. The final best practice I want to share with you is around security. All cloud platform vendors have the shared security models. What we've seen is this is a great opportunity to rationalize and simplify security models. There are this is a simple characterization of the three tiers within the purview of the application developers and architects: application security, data security, and infrastructure security. And it is important from an application security perspective to have a common set of approaches, common set of blueprints, and as far as applications security goes, you do not want applications in the cloud and on-premise to have different authentication and authorization models. Federated SSO is very common, has been used within an enterprise, and can be easily extended between cloud and on-premise systems. It is important for you to identify who your identity providers, hopefully there's just one, are, and who the service providers are, and work towards a common authorization model. As far as data security is concerned, there are a lot of out-of-the-box capabilities around encryption at rest and in motion. Take full advantage of those. And key management tends to be a little bit challenging, but a lot of these cloud vendors are now rolling out key management platforms which really help a whole lot. The final one is on data residency. This is an important concept where the data cannot move out of a particular region, and there are some exciting technologies such as encryption gateways. AWS has regions worldwide, so when you're choosing the cloud platform, it's important to make sure they have good, they have regions in the area that you want the data to reside. And finally, the infrastructure security. This is important for absolutely important, and I think the important the consideration here is there are new different abstractions, VPCs, subnets. VPCs can span across availability zones, so you should look at how you want to leverage VPCs and subnets. And the IAM framework from Amazon, again, I haven't, it's a great framework to provide very fine level control over all your resources. So the key takeaway is there are new abstractions out there with respect to cloud. Have a common, try to have common application security models, and rationalize and simplify security. With that, I would hand it over to Kyle.
Hey, thanks, Amit. Hey everyone, my name is Kyle Lichtenberg. I'm a Manager of Solutions Architecture here with Amazon Web Services. The slide says Vikram, but due to extenuating circumstances, he's not going to be able to join us for this presentation. But I'll be more than happy to walk you through a quick overview of the AWS infrastructure and then get onto some Q&A as well. We're going to go through this pretty quickly as we're running a little long on time here. I want to make sure that we have ample time to answer your specific questions. So what you're looking at here is a view of very, very high level of what is AWS. In the center, we have our three gray boxes there, compute, storage, and database. This is really the core of any compute infrastructure. There's going to be some sort of compute to do the work. There's going to be some sort of storage to store the work that's being done. And most likely, if it's interesting data, there's going to be a database to power the applications that are running on top of this infrastructure. Below that, we have the infrastructure pieces that Amazon manages on your behalf and gives you some tools to manage yourself as well. We have our global infrastructure, which we'll talk a little bit more about in just a few slides here, which is our set of compute infrastructure in our data centers around the world, the interconnects that make those work, the internet connections that make those communicate to the rest of the world, and the networking tools that we provide to you to design your virtual private cloud and design your cloud story the way that you need it to make it work for both your company and your applications. Big question when you're reviewing cloud providers is what sets a cloud provider apart? Specifically, what sets AWS apart in this context? Our customers tell us that one of the things that they really like about AWS and one of the reasons they've decided to go with us in the initial terms is experience. We've been building managed cloud since 2006. That's 8 years, which in the grand scheme of things doesn't sound like a huge amount of time, but think back 8 years. What did your compute infrastructure look like? What did your phone look like? The world has changed from a technology standpoint over these last several years, and AWS has really been at the forefront designing, building, and driving that change, using input from our customers and direct asks from our users to kind of derive the needs of the community and build those needs into functional products that we now offer out to anyone who's interested in signing up for cloud technologies. As a result, we have extensive service breadth and depth. 60 plus services to support any cloud workload. If there's a workload that you are looking to run, I'm quite confident we can make it run in AWS. A few caveats there, as always, with specialized hardware and a few little gotchas. But as far as platforms are concerned, we have the widest and largest selection of tools and services available to our customers. As a result, our pace of innovation is quite high. We have a history of rapid customer-driven releases. More than 80% of our roadmap is driven directly by customer requests. The general idea is if customers aren't asking for it, why would we build it? So we use direct input from customers to solve their challenges and help them move forward to a situation where they're not thinking as much about their technology. They're thinking about their core business. They're spending those cycles they would be designing and building this type of infrastructure instead on improving their business, focusing on what matters to them. Global footprint, and we'll talk about this a little bit more in another slide or two, but we have 11 regions, 29 availability zones, 53 different edge locations for our edge services, like our DNS services and our CloudFront services for content delivery. Our pricing philosophy is a little bit different. Everything is on demand, 48 proactive price reductions to date on those on-demand services. We only want you to pay for the compute that you use. If you are paying too much, then we're not going to be happy. If you're paying too much, you're not going to be happy. So we want to make sure that as much as possible, we help you tune your infrastructure and tune your decisions to make sure you're spending your money wisely and spending your money well on your technology services. And very close to my heart, our ecosystem. We have thousands of technology and systems integrator partners who are ready to help customers not only get to the cloud, but improve their experience once they're there. Our technology partners have great software appliances and applications and suites to really ease that transition and improve the underlying applications themselves, help optimize that experience, if you will, for the customers using their specific software options. Here's another high-level overview of just the breadth of services that we offer. Everything from high-level technical and business support with our amazing premium support team, enterprise applications near the top of the stack there with our virtual desktops through workspaces and our business email through workmail and our document sharing and collaboration through workdocs. Further down the stack, we have the tools to enable DevOps, to enable container workloads, to enable mobile sync service and identity service, to enable transcoding services, email, workflow, Hadoop, data pipelines for moving data around, application streaming, all of that backed by identity management, access controls, resource usage auditing, key management and storage services, and monitoring and logging services to make sure that you feel secure with how your data is being used, where it's being used, who has access to which applications, and overall that your systems are tight and secure the way that you would expect from a world-class cloud provider. Core services, we discussed a little bit earlier with our compute or storage, our CDN for our content delivery, database options, both managed and independently managed, and networking services from our VPC to provide direct connect if you want physical connectivity into the cloud, or IPsec VPN services that we'll manage for you if that's something that you would prefer. Underneath that are infrastructure services, which are able to provide you access in 11 different regions across the globe and serve customers around the world. Specifically, you can see our regions noted here in the orange circles and our edge locations loaded in the little blue circles. We have more than 1 million active customers. We define an active customer as a customer who has had an active workload running in the last 90 days. We have 11 regions around the world. You can see North America, South America, Europe, Asia Pacific. 29 availability zones. What that functionally means to you is tomorrow you can start servers in 29 different data centers that are not connected from a dependency standpoint. These are independent facilities that have their own power, they have their own network, they have their own connectivity that will not be impacted by any issues at one of the other facilities. So literally tomorrow, whether you're a business or a average human being with a credit card, you can stand up servers around the world in minutes. Speaking to a rapid pace of innovation, last year, 2014, we released 516 new services and features for the AWS platform. We're over 1,400 since the launch in 2006. Last year alone, if you take a look at that functionally, there's 251 working days in the US in 2014. That's more than 2 per working day in the US. Just think about what it would take for your company to produce 2 services or features just focused on your technology platform in the year. Chances are you do not have the staff laying around that are willing or interested in doing that, because you need to be focusing on your core business, not on driving technology innovation. And lastly, we touch on our expansive ecosystem. So our Amazon Partner Network, we have thousands of the largest technology and consulting companies in the world as part of our network, and they're all here to help you and to help your customers ease their transition into the usage of cloud technologies, as well as improve their usage of technologies once they're in place. We also have the AWS Marketplace, where you can go search for very big name technologies. If you search for Cisco or Citrix or Riverbed or MicroStrategy, you will find pre-built machine images running that software that you can launch directly into your account with a single click. Sometimes there's 2 or 3 clicks, to be quite honest, but in most cases, a single click to get that product up and running in minutes. So if you are a Cisco shop, and many, many places are, you can launch their cloud services router into AWS with literally 3 clicks from start to finish. You will have the Cisco device up and running. You can add it to your network and treat it just like another node in your data center networks. So I'm sorry for running through that so quickly. I wanted to make sure that we had time to get on.